It was just after 6 a.m. when Malik Bennett turned off the highway and onto a quiet two-lane road skirting the edges of a sleepy suburb. He'd been on surveillance duty all night, unshaven, tired, and in plain clothes like always. Gray hoodie, navy cap, black joggers. His FBI badge and sidearm were locked safely in the glove compartment, just like protocol said when off active duty. He yawned, flexing his fingers on the wheel. Home was less than 15 minutes away. A hot shower, 2 hours of sleep. Then, paperwork. The street was empty but for a few joggers and the occasional parked car. His rental, a black Toyota Camry with out-of-state plates, blended in well enough. He kept his speed a few miles under the limit. Old habits. Then he saw them. Blue and red lights suddenly flared behind him, slicing through the early light. A sharp chirp of the siren followed. Malik frowned, signaled right, and pulled onto the shoulder. He placed both hands on the steering wheel, high, wide, visible, heart steady, breathing controlled. It wasn't his first stop, but it was never just a stop. The squad car behind him didn't move for several seconds. Then, the loudspeaker crackled, sudden and sharp. "Driver, put your hands where I can see them. Right now." Malik didn't flinch. His hands were already visible. But that didn't matter. The door of the patrol car flew open, and a white officer in full uniform emerged, tall, tense, one hand near his holster, the other pointing. "Keep your hands on the wheel. Don't move. Don't reach for anything." Malik didn't move. He didn't speak. He just waited. Because he knew how quickly things escalated when a black man explained before he was allowed to. The officer crept closer, hand hovering over his weapon. "Where you headed? This your car? Why are you driving around here so early? Roll the window down." Slowly. Malik obeyed. The window slid down halfway. He started to speak. "No talking! Just do as I say," the officer barked. So he went quiet again. The officer moved to the driver's side mirror, eyes scanning the inside of the car. "Step out of the vehicle." Right now, Malik looked forward. Another breath. Then he slowly reached for the door handle. Already the tension was building, thicker than protocol, louder than truth. This wasn't about what he'd done. This was about what he looked like doing it. The door clicked open and Malik stepped out slowly, hands still visible, shoulders relaxed. Not submissive, but trained. His movements were exact, deliberate. The officer was already tense. Seeing Malik's size, over 6 feet athletic build, seemed to spike his nerves. His hand hovered even closer to his weapon now. "Turn around. Face the hood. Keep your hands where I can see them." Malik complied. He didn't speak. He didn't reach. But that didn't stop what happened next. The officer stepped in fast, grabbed Malik's wrist, and yanked his arm behind his back, shoving him chest first onto the hood of the car. The metal was still cold from the night air. "What's in the car?" the officer demanded. "You got weapons? Drugs?" "Sir," Malik began calmly, his voice low and even. "I'm a federal agent." "Don't talk. You answer when I ask," the officer snapped. Malik closed his eyes, not out of fear, but calculation. How far would this go before it stopped? "You match a description," the officer muttered, as if trying to justify the contact to himself. Black male, hoodie, out-of-state plates, creeping through a residential area. That sound familiar? Number. It didn't sound familiar, it sounded rehearsed. Malik had heard versions of this before. "You match a description," the oldest line in the book, the vague safety net for bad stops, worse instincts, and unchecked fear. And this cop wasn't scared of Malik's actions. He was scared of what he thought Malik could be. The officer patted him down roughly, hands through his pockets, down his sides, over his ankles. Malik didn't resist, couldn't. One twitched the wrong way, one glance mistaken for defiance, and this could end in headlines. "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" the officer pressed. Malik's voice stayed calm. "Driving home. After work." "What work?" Pause. "Federal task force." The officer chuckled. "Right. And I'm with NASA." He moved toward the car, opening the door and scanning the inside like he was looking for something to justify the stop. Anything. But Malik didn't move, didn't reach, didn't remind him, not yet, where the real badge was. Because right now, he wasn't being treated like someone who had one. He was being treated like someone who wasn't supposed to exist here. The officer moved quickly now, checking the back seat, digging through the center console, flashlight in hand, even though the morning light was already filling the street. Malik stood by the hood, hands resting calmly where the officer had left them, still facing forward, still silent, still waiting. And all the while, the neighborhood around them slowly came to life. Joggers passed on the sidewalk, stealing nervous glances. A man walking his dog paused on the corner, pretending to look at his phone while watching. A teenage girl in a hoodie, not unlike Malik's, filmed from across the street, holding her phone low but angled. The air was heavy with unspoken awareness. They'd seen this story before. They just didn't expect it to be happening this close to home. "Car's clean," the officer muttered into his shoulder mic, annoyed now that he hadn't found anything. "But I still don't like it. Could be hiding something?" Malik turned his head slightly. "You done?" The cop straightened, stepping closer. "Excuse me?" "I said, are you done searching my car without cause?" The officer's jaw tightened. "You got a smart mouth." "No," Malik replied coolly. "I've got rights." It wasn't shouted, it wasn't aggressive, but it landed with weight. Something about the tone, the stillness, made the officer hesitate for the first time. And then, a second cruiser pulled up. Out stepped a younger officer, maybe late 20s, brown-haired, more alert than tense. He scanned the scene, eyes bouncing between Malik and the older cop. Then, his gaze landed on Malik's face. Recognition hit instantly. He took a cautious step forward, pulling off his sunglasses. "Wait, sir, is your name Bennett?" "Malik Bennett?" Malik met his eyes. "That's right." The younger officer turned to the first cop, eyebrows raised. "He's FBI. He's with the task force downtown. I've seen him in the federal building." A long pause. The first officer's eyes darted back to Malik, suddenly unsure. "FBI?" he echoed, voice quieter now. Malik didn't answer. Instead, he nodded toward the glove compartment. Badge and ID inside. You could have asked the first cop didn't move at first. His authority, the one thing he'd clung to, was slipping. Fast. Publicly. When he finally opened the glove box and pulled out the leather case, the gold FBI shield nearly shone in the light. The silence that followed wasn't just awkward, it was damning. And for the first time since the stop began, Malik turned around, calm, straight, eyes sharp as glass. The look he gave wasn't angry, it was measured, professional, controlled. Exactly what the badge said he was. The badge in the officer's hand suddenly felt heavy. Heavier than the gun on his belt, heavier than the silence hanging between them. It glinted gold in the sunlight. Official. Undeniable. Stamped with Federal Bureau of Investigation and the name Special Agent Malik A. Bennett. The younger cop, still standing by the second cruiser, cleared his throat. "He's legit. I've seen him give briefings on joint cases. He's high level." The older officer's face began to drain of color. He glanced from the badge to Malik, then to the other officer, then back again, as if trying to rewind time with his eyes. "I didn't know," he mumbled. Malik folded his arms across his chest. "You didn't ask." The officer shifted his feet. "You didn't tell me who you were." Malik's tone didn't change. "I told you I was a federal agent." "You told me to shut up." A few people were still watching from the sidewalks. One woman whispered something to her teenage daughter. A man in a hoodie crossed the street to avoid being in the background of someone's recording. The scene wasn't loud anymore, but the damage was already done. The older officer tried again. With the out-of-state plates and the time of day and his voice trailed off. There was nothing left to justify. Malik stepped forward, closing the space between them just slightly. Not threatening, but centered. In control. "Let me ask you something," he said. "If I were white, same car, same time of day, same hoodie, would we still be here?" The officer didn't answer, didn't even try, because he already knew the truth. And now, so did everyone else. The younger officer cleared his throat again. "Sir, would you like me to notify your supervisor?" Malik didn't look away. No, I'll file the report myself, internally and publicly. He turned his eyes back to the older officer. You've got a camera on that chest rig, right? The cop nodded slowly. Good, Malik said. Then this whole stop speaks for itself. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't curse. He didn't shove. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. The badge was back in Malik's hands. He tucked it into his jacket slowly, carefully, as if making a point. This symbol of authority didn't come from a uniform. It came from earned respect, and he wasn't about to let it be ignored. The older officer opened his mouth, as if to offer some weak apology. But no words came, only discomfort. Malik didn't wait for them. He walked past the officer without a glance, back to his car, his every step measured. He opened the driver's side door, paused, then turned back to face them both. You didn't see a threat, he said, voice low but cutting. You saw a black man where you didn't think one should be. That's not policing. That's profiling. The younger officer lowered his eyes. The older one looked like he wanted to vanish into the pavement. I stayed calm, Malik continued, because I've been trained to, because I knew I had to. But what if I hadn't? What if I were someone else? Someone without a badge? Silence. Malik let it hang there like a gavel. Then, one final truth. Simple. Devastating. I shouldn't have to prove I'm law enforcement to be treated like a human being. He got into the car, shut the door. The engine started. The tires rolled forward. But the weight of what just happened stayed behind, resting squarely on the shoulders of the man who had started it. And for once, the one driving away wasn't running from anything. He was leaving a system behind and taking his dignity with him. The federal building was humming with activity when Malik walked in. Agents moved through the corridors, clutching coffee cups and case folders, eyes locked on deadlines. But Malik? He walked with one goal: accountability. He went straight to the internal affairs liaison, a woman he'd known for years. Tough, sharp, by the book. You don't look like you're here to talk shop, she said, glancing up from her desk. Malik laid a flash drive on the table. Body cam footage. Unlawful stop. Officer. White male, mid-40s, suburban district. Happened this morning? She paused, her brow furrowing. You filing as the agent or as the victim? He didn't blink. Both. She nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what that meant. Malik spent the next hour documenting everything. Time, location, actions taken, words used, force applied. What wasn't said, what wasn't asked, what was assumed. When he reached the section of the report titled Perceived Motivation Behind Stop, he typed without hesitation, racial bias. Suspect was compliant. No probable cause. Officer escalated without justification. He finished the report, attached the footage, signed his name, Malik A. Bennett, Federal Agent, Joint Task Force. Also, black man driving while tired. Later that day, his supervisor called him into a quiet office. I saw the footage, she said. You handled it with more control than most people would have. Malik looked her in the eyes. Control shouldn't be the burden. Respect should be the baseline, she nodded slowly. You want to press for public discipline? He hesitated, then shook his head. I want retraining. I want policy change. I want that cop off the streets until he knows what protect and serve really means. You think that's enough? She asked. He looked down at the printed report. It's a start. 2 weeks later, Malik Bennett stood at a podium inside a packed community town hall, wearing his full suit, FBI credentials clipped at his side, but no weapon today. He wasn't there as an agent. He was there as a voice. Behind him, a banner read, Community Policing and Accountability Forum. The audience was a mix of law enforcement, elected officials, local activists, high school students, and neighborhood elders. Tension and skepticism filled the air like static. But when Malik took the mic, the room fell silent. 2 weeks ago, I was pulled over in a quiet suburb. I followed every rule. I complied. I stayed calm. I did everything I've been trained to do, not just as a federal agent, but as a black man trying to survive. He let the words breathe. And still, I was pushed against the hood of my car. My rights were ignored, my identity erased, until a badge made me human again. A few heads nodded, others looked down. That badge didn't make me worthy of respect. I already was. He paused, scanning the crowd. Let me be clear. This isn't about one cop. It's about a system that teaches officers to see threat before they see person, especially if that person looks like me. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Some uncomfortable, some affirming. I don't hate cops, he continued. I work alongside them every day. I know the weight of that job. I know the fear. But fear does not excuse abuse. It doesn't excuse prejudice. It doesn't excuse the way too many black drivers have to rehearse how to survive a traffic stop. Malik's voice grew steadier, stronger. I was lucky. I had credentials. I had training. I had calm. But what happens when the next person doesn't? The room was quiet now. No coughs, no phones. We don't need more apologies. We need change. We need better training, better accountability. And we need every officer to ask themselves a simple question every day. Would I treat this person the same if they didn't look like this? After the event, people came up to shake his hand. A white officer in his 20s approached. Sir, I watched your body cam footage. I think about it every time I stop someone now. Malik nodded. Then maybe that footage did its job. Later, a teenage boy, black, about 16, stepped forward quietly. Mr. Bennett, I want to be an FBI agent too. Like you. Malik smiled, kneeling to the boy's height. You can. And when you get there, make it better than we found it. That night, Malik sat alone in his apartment. He poured a glass of water, took off his tie. He looked at the badge on his dresser. He didn't hate it. He didn't worship it. He simply knew it shouldn't take a badge to earn basic dignity. Tomorrow he'd go back to work, chase real criminals, serve real justice. But tonight, he allowed himself to breathe, not just as an agent, as a man who stood his ground and told the truth.